Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to FFS Friday Football Social, and we're joined by none other than Mr. Jimmy Conrad. It's a reunion of sorts.
God. Oh my God, it's Adrian from Rabona TV, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. I brought my megaphone to really honor the occasion. Thank you for having me, old friend.
Yes, of course. Yes, as I was saying, it's sort of like a reunion. You know, we used to do this every Friday, but in a very, very different kind of way with your previews and predictions. I used to join you there all the time. But I think that the natural place to start is, first off, how are you? How are things, Jimmy?
I'm great. I talk about the beautiful game incessantly. I break it down incessantly. I analyze it incessantly, and I absolutely love it. Because you know why, Adrian? It never stops. It never, ever ends. Even the pandemic couldn't slow down the beautiful game, you know? So here we are.
No, if anything, the pandemic made it more relentless, a more ferocious beast. It came at us harder than ever. We had no break, but hey, man, how can we complain about that, right?
You can't.
No, we really can't. So I think the next logical step here is I had a few people asking me, you know, where is Jimmy? What's going on with Jimmy? What's happened with his YouTube channel?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So let the people know, where have you gone?
Well, I appreciate the platform to speak about it. What ended up happening was, and I know you run into these issues sometimes on YouTube as well, is that you end up making content that fits an algorithm as opposed to content that you actually care about and put everything into. And it's a struggle because you try to merge those two things. And then you decide, am I doing this for me or am I doing it for an algorithm? And that disheartened me a little bit. And I had this opportunity to move from New York City back to California, where I'm from, be closer to our families, my wife's and I. And I am good friends with somebody at Twitch. And he's like, hey, man, you got to get on the platform. You got to get on the platform. I'm like, yeah. I'm a YouTuber, man. You know, I don't have time for this Twitch stuff. I don't even know what's happening. It's all video games. You know, I have an awesome career mode series, of course, but that's not in real time. You know, that's, you know, we get to edit it. We get to have jokes. We get to set things up. It felt more YouTube-y. But he wore me down and said, hey, we're going to start to get into sports. As everyone knows or doesn't know, I guess, Amazon owns Twitch. So they're into the sports right buying process for a lot of different leagues from around the world. So I started to get more intrigued. And they came up and said, hey, you kind of prove to us concept and then we'll back you. So I proved concept and I just signed a 1-year deal with Twitch. So when you start to get, let's say, rewarded for your time, right?
Yeah.
Financially, and you have backing from behind the scenes from a big platform like Twitch is, it's hard to then go back to the stuff you were doing for free. It really is. And so that's where things went. And I just had to make a hard pivot. Unfortunately, I tried to keep my audience up to date. I started to repost again, and then I just didn't have enough energy, both just in real life, but also from a creative standpoint, to continue to stay as engaged on YouTube because all my time and energy had to go to Twitch. So then as I proved concept there, I had CBS Sports ask me to jump on to be an analyst for them for their Champions League and Europa League coverage. Like, put on a suit and let's analyze the real games. So then all of a sudden that started to dominate a lot of my life as well. And like everybody else, I've got bills to pay. And so you kind of have to go where you're getting financially rewarded for your time. And that wasn't YouTube for me. So I had to pivot to these other places. You can find me. I'm still doing the same shit. I'm just doing it on different platforms and more in real time. So like you're doing right now, going live on YouTube. And I actually want to say, and I'm going to throw the platform back to you, Adrian. I'm really proud of all your success. You've been grinding it out and making some amazing content for a long, long time now. So I'm glad that the audience is recognizing what you're bringing to the table.
Thank you, man. I do very much appreciate that, and we are going to go down that road a little bit more. Not the praise Adrian road. We're not going down
I like that road.
No, we're not going to go down that road. But I definitely do vibe with what you're saying about, you know, putting content out there that doesn't necessarily fit with the algorithm, because I don't know how many times, and I'm sure you can absolutely agree on this part, some of the videos that I have most enjoyed producing and that I think are my best videos tank. Absolutely tank, and they do not do well, and there's nothing more disheartening than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the word, disheartening, and it's hard to recover from that sometimes because you just gave everything that you had, and then you kind of put out some bullshit 6-minute video that gets, you know, 150,000 views, and you're like, what is even happening right now? And I think that lack of consistency was starting to wear me down. I had been a YouTuber for what, 8-9 years before this Twitch opportunity came, so I definitely have put my time in and cut my teeth in this space. But I learned a lot about myself in the process. So it's all a good thing ultimately, but disheartening is the right word. Continue.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I want to pivot away from that because I want to go back 5 years now. I have a little surprise for you, Jimmy. A little
Oh,
surprise
no.
for you and the audience. I'm going to go back to November of 2016.
Okay.
And you know what? Let's just finish the sentence for me here, Jimmy. Let's just roll the
clip. Let's go.
And up next, Manchester United versus Arsenal. Before I say anything about this game, even though I desperately want to talk about how Jose Mourinho has never lost to Arsene Wenger before, or how Arsenal haven't won at Old Trafford since 2006, I'm going to let new previews and predictions correspondent Adrian from Rabona TV to break it down. Adrian?
Now we've seen the specialist in failing, the tie flip that shook the world, and the non-handshake that, well, didn't shake. But this matchup is more than Jose versus Arsene and his unzipperable coats. First, at United, there will be no defenders, sorta. When the formerly MIA Phil Jones is a starter, but it looks better in the attack. Rooney will probably still be recovering from his hangover, and with Zlatan suspended, Rashford will likely spearhead a much pacier and dynamic front line. That fares well for United, but at Arsenal, Ozil is slaying, Alexis, my hamstring is fine, Sanchez is slaying, and Walcott finally figured out where the back of the net is. Plus, Arsenal finally has depth. Giroud has turned into a lumbersexual super sub, and ever since meeting Justin Bieber, Oxlade-Chamberlain has started delivering more than just potential. Phew, with all that in mind, Jimmy predicts.
I feel like I need a drum roll here. Yeah, that's better. You guys ready for this? Manchester United 2, Arsenal 3! Yes, in Arsene Wenger's last season for Arsenal, maybe he's gonna finally beat his nemesis.
So a little nostalgia trip there. A little nostalgia trip. That was the first time I had ever appeared on your channel. And
crushed it. You crushed it.
Well, it's definitely a different style to what I do now. You can definitely see the sort of Watch Mojo editing style that I was doing back then because I was working there, of course.
100%.
But and you're going to hate this, and I've said it to you before, but I do believe that without Jimmy Conrad, there wouldn't have been a Rabona TV. And just to give some people
I can't accept that.
Hang on. Just to give people some background as to how Rabona TV sort of started. Well, I mean, people know how I started from Watch Mojo, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to do something in football. They know all that. But I was watching the True Geordie podcast, and you were on there speaking with Lawrence and True Geordie, obviously. And you mentioned how you're starting the Radical Creative Group and how how you wanted to work with creators that could use some help getting things off of the ground. And at this time, I think I had 6 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And I just sent out a Hail Mary email out there. And you answered. You answered and you gave me a shot. A guy with 6 subscribers with like nothing behind him. You had no reason to give me any sort of opportunity, but you did so. And thus, Rabona TV exists because of that. And I can't thank you enough for it.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I don't know how much my mom paid you to say that, but it's very kind of you.
A lot.
Yes. Good. I'll have to back end it and give my mom a little extra cash for doing that. But no, that's really nice of you to say. Your talent was very clear. I got quite a few emails, which was very cool. And as I vetted everybody, there was something that you had there that made you special. And I think that's bearing some fruit now that maybe you weren't the finished product yet, but you had an angle and a take that I thought was unique. And now Rabona TV exists in a really meaningful way. So that's awesome. I'm proud of you, man.
Hey, thank you. I think I was watching a video by a YouTube creator you might have heard of called Veritasium. And he was speaking about how luck plays a role in a lot of people's success story and they don't really acknowledge it enough. And I think that that's something that I've really been trying to do a lot lately. And of course, there's always an aspect of what you do with those opportunities. But I think acknowledging the luck that I had and, you answering that email, not just getting lost in your spam folder or something like that. And so I want to sort of pivot from that. And if you look back on your own career as a player, it's a little bit different because making it in a professional sport, there's a balance of dedication and of course ability as well. But are there any moments where you look back and you think, it was lucky that maybe this guy was injured and I got an opportunity, or it was lucky that I just so happened to have this coach? What were some of those moments for you?
Yeah, I would say that for everybody that doesn't know my backstory, I wasn't recruited out of high school, so I wasn't like a youth national team player or any of that good stuff. I had to walk on in college, and I walked on ultimately at UCLA. And at that point, I had gone to San Diego State first, but even then the coach didn't know who I was. So I kind of had to earn my space. And after 2 years, I transferred to UCLA and I gave up a scholarship at that point because I played well enough at San Diego State to earn a full scholarship. I gave that up to go play at my dream school at UCLA. And the coach is like, I don't really know who you are, but you got some good experience playing 2 years in Division I. I'll give you a week to try out. I usually give guys that come in only 2 days, but we'll get you into school. So we'll get you into school and you get a week to try out. And I was like, I'll do it. So I gave up pretty much everything and took that risk. And to your point, with regard to luck, I don't know if I believe in it so much. I believe that luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And when you get that opportunity, are you prepared, to your point, right? So yes, I had to open a door for you, but I think that your talent was so clear. It was just a matter of time. If I didn't open up that door, then somebody else would have, because you had something, right? So that's as it pertains to your story. For me, where the luck, I guess, happened to me was that I didn't start my senior year for UCLA. I was kind of a spot starter. And as we went into the playoffs, the NCAA playoffs, the March Madness style, the guy that started in front of me tore his knee 5 minutes into the first game. And obviously devastated for him. He's a senior. I was a senior, but it gave me an opportunity to play. I got in and played. And this time, for the first time all season, there was no option behind me. Like if I didn't play well, the coach had to stick with me. And I actually, in some ways, relaxed because I knew that the pressure was different. And we went on to win the national championship. We only gave up 1 goal in 6 games, and mainly due to our goalkeeper, Matt Reese, who was standing on his head. But still, I mean, it's still part of the team. And we won the national championship, and I'm thinking, dude, I'm going to get drafted in MLS for sure. I'm on the best Division I college team, and we crushed it in the playoffs. And the other 4 seniors got drafted, and I didn't. So what do you do at that point? That's the decision you have to make. Do I continue to push on and believe in who I am and what I'm about and just kind of kick doors down, and as you did, write emails, make calls, whatever it is to get that opportunity? And then when you get that opportunity, you got to smash it, right? So, or it doesn't have to be great, but can you show enough in that opportunity that there's some potential there? And I think I did the same as you did with me. And so that was a really pivotal moment for me, is making that decision. I'm going to go for it, because I don't think if you want to be great at anything, you can't be distracted by 6 or 7 different things. You have to have that singular focus. Right. So it happened to me plenty of times during my life, Adrian. And every time that I did make that decision that I'm going to go for it and I was successful, it gave me confidence when I found myself in that situation again to do it again, because I knew what it looked like at the end of that tunnel, or as it were, or at the end of that rainbow.
Yeah, it's I agree. Like, as much as I think that acknowledging your luck is a good thing, I do ultimately agree with the sentiment that when you do have those opportunities, is what you make of them. And so you clearly took yours. You made it into the MLS, into MLS soccer. And I was digging through this morning, just doing some natural preparation. No, this is a good one. Don't worry. This is a good one. I'm not going to dig up any red cards or anything like that. But I was digging through and I found an old Reddit post of someone saying, what was Jimmy Conrad like as a player? And the comment that stood out to me was someone said, and I quote, "Conrad really dominated in the guy you want to have on your team and root for until the end of your days category." And so he's since deleted his account, but I think that he still stands by that comment, I'm sure. But looking back on your career, considering both guys you played with, even at the university level or in MLS or at the national team, who's that guy for you? Who's the guy that, you could always rely upon, and the guy who you would always want to have in your team if you had to pick one?
One of my former teammates?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually think what's hard about this question is that it's easy to lean on your national team teammates, because more often than not, they're going to be the most talented, have the most experience, and played in the biggest of games. But you don't see those guys very often. So it's almost like you want to lean on a club player. And then I feel like if I pick one player over another and they hear about this interview, they're going to be pissed if I don't pick them. There was one player, though, in particular. I'll give you 2 options, and they're both national team ones. But Eddie Pope, who I played with on the national team at center back. When I was coming up, I watched players, how they move, the decision-making on the ball, whatever it may be. And I always got told, you should watch Eddie Pope. You should watch Eddie Pope. So I watched Eddie Pope. I studied his every move, what he was doing based on where the ball was, how he was communicating, his positioning, all that type of stuff. So I knew Eddie Pope inside and out. So imagine, let's fast forward 10 years later when I'm playing with him in the national team in these big giant games with millions of people watching. And I know exactly what he's going to do in every situation. And so that felt kind of weird and also oddly comforting, that okay, if the ball's here, Eddie Pope's going to step or he's going to drop. And it made my job a lot easier. So he was somebody, based on my knowledge of his game, that I really loved playing with. A guy, though, I think you could always count on is Steve Chirundello. He now coaches the Las Vegas Lights in the USL Championship. Played in Hanover, been in the Bundesliga his whole career. He actually came on a recruiting trip to UCLA and was such an arrogant prick I was like, who does this guy think he is? He's like 5 foot nothing, and he thinks he's better than all of us. You know, like the best college team in the land. And that was my first introduction to him. And now he's become a very good friend. But that guy knows the game inside and out. He played for Hanover for 13 years. He was the vice captain. They basically called him the mayor of the city because he just was so beloved. So he kind of fits into the same category that Reddit commenter made. Just somebody you know that's going to give you maybe not a 10 out of 10 every game, but is never going to drop below a 7 or 8, you know, and is always going to be a leader and always be somebody you can count on. And I always appreciated that about Steve Chirundello. Like that side was locked down and never had to worry about it. So he's somebody that jumps out to me that was always fun to play with because I always knew what I was going to get out of him game in and game out.
And so let's continue on with this U.S. men's national team talk, because naturally there was plenty of comments of people asking, you know, questions of you and what you think and your thoughts, etc. So just this morning, I saw Mr. Alexei Lala's tweet about how he thinks that the road challenges in CONCACAF have been built up to the point of them becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Did you see the tweets, by the way?
I did. I saw what you're talking about.
You saw it? Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of this? Because it seems like, from the outside at least, as a Canadian, someone who doesn't take in a lot of U.S. media, he was sort of
smartly.
He was sort of saying that, you know, it's a mixture of, I don't know, was it expectations being lowered a little bit, the players maybe being coddled to some degree? There's a lot going on there. So do you think that there's been sort of a shift in the expectations at all when it comes to the U.S. men's national team, and people are getting overly excited because are we even a quarter way through the qualifying rounds yet?
No, we're not a quarter. I don't know, 3 divided by 14. I don't know what the math is.
Yeah.
But no, we're not close to a quarter. Well, we are close, but not there yet. What I'll say is Alexei Lawless is a bit like the Skip Bayless of American soccer, where he feels like he's got to say stuff to say stuff. He says stuff to stay visible, relevance, and he's good at that job. Whether you agree with his comments, probably 99% of them no, but he does stir the pot, and that's what he gets paid to do. With regard to this comment, I find it interesting because when he was going through the process of World Cup qualifying with the U.S., when I was going through it, Twitter was just getting started. So it just wasn't in this vacuum, in this one space where everybody could kind of bitch about how hard it is to play in CONCACAF. And the players obviously are going to be, they're human beings. They're going to read Twitter and Instagram and all that type of stuff. Will they buy into it a little bit more? I think, hell, we're telling them that so that they're prepared for those games down there, that they don't take it lightly. So I almost, in some ways, take the opposite tack here and say that I think there's still some advantage of knowing that these are going to be difficult games. Are we starting to kid into a meme culture where, you know, Arsenal for me is an absolute meme club at this point? And was that brought on by Arsenal Fan TV? I know there's a big discourse that's happening on social media about how that channel has hurt the club in so many different ways. And has really amplified little things into making them so much bigger than they need to be, to the point where people were flying banners outside of the stadium saying Wenger out. This guy delivered more than that club will ever accomplish from here until the rest of eternity. And they wanted that guy out. They treated him like absolute shit. And so that's crazy to me that it could get to that level, and that social media basically in a fan channel drove that narrative and took it to this nth degree. So there is some, I'm taking this off on a bit of a tangent, but these games in CONCACAF are hard away from home. I've played in these games. I've played in a World Cup qualifier in Guatemala City. They're difficult. You have fans throwing stuff at you. You have fans calling you at 3 a.m. and the hotel acting like they don't know what's happening. You know, I mean, they're trying to wake you up. And I love it personally. I don't think that's a distraction. I'm like, this game matters to these people on a level that I'll never understand, because I didn't grow up in this type of culture. In a country that doesn't think they have a chance, trying to give themselves every possible opportunity to maybe steal some points from the United States, who they don't like for multiple reasons off the field, for all the imperialism, and that's a different conversation as well. But I would say that I love that. And I think Alexei's making a good point. What I liked about his discourse ultimately is open it up, because I do think that maybe we are making more of it than we should, but I kind of disagree. The second part I like is what he said, who stepped up when it mattered. And I think what he's alluding to there, because he didn't say it outright, is that MLS players stepped up when it mattered. And I like that part of it a lot, because I was a guy that went to a World Cup with only MLS experience. And I came back as one of the highest rated players, along with Clint Dempsey, who only had MLS experience at that point. We were the 2 top rated players from the 2006 World Cup, which didn't go well for us as a team. But for the guys that actually performed when it mattered, it was us. So I don't really buy into it. Oh, you have to play in Europe to play at the highest level. It's all bullshit, right? And it's an easy narrative to make. But what I learned in that World Cup was you're either ready when the whistle blows or you're not. And it doesn't matter what you did before, and it doesn't matter what you're going to do in the future. You're either going to ready to show up and play right now, or you're going to let us down. And that's ultimately what I learned in that whole process.
Yeah, and I think just going back to the whole CONCACAF experience and how, I find that, for example, we had Benfica playing away to PSV in the Champions League qualifying, and there was fireworks lit off outside of the hotel, which is an absolute classic. And I heard a lot of Portuguese supporters saying like, oh, this is such a scummy move by them. Like, how could they do this? They show no class in doing so. Like, these are dirty tricks. And I was like, dude, have you watched South American football? Because I've spoken to, for example, I have a friend who's an Argentinian, and he was basically explaining to me how the supporters, they're part of the team. Basically, they play a role. The whole intimidation factor, that is their role within the club. So when you show up to a stadium and they're banging on your bus and they're shooting fireworks and they're throwing bags of piss sometimes or whatever they're doing, that all plays into it. And I think I'm with you on this one. I think that it definitely does have a place within football, so long as people aren't getting hurt, so long as there aren't like crazy taking it way over the top. If it's just keeping someone awake and trying to intimidate them a little bit through means of, some nice fireworks or something like that, I'm totally okay with it. Now we got a lot to fly through here, Jimmy, because I don't want to keep you too long.
Oh, no worries.
There was a lot of questions about Newcastle and Roma. So let's start with Newcastle. Now, one of the things, again, while I was doing my digging, I love whenever I'm interviewing someone, I love looking at their Wikipedia page just to see what kinds of things are written on there. And now it says on your Wikipedia page that you are an avid Newcastle fan. And what I love the most was that the source for that, of all things, was a tweet from 2012 where you're replying to someone, I believe, who was asking if you support Liverpool. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyways, we had Bishop Eamon who asked, do you think that Newcastle are staying up this season? Or is Bruce that guy? Is he going to keep them up, or are they going back down?
That's a great question. As a Newcastle fan, I just accept that suffering is going to be part of any Premier League season or potentially a championship season. We have the talent to stay up. There's no question. For me, it's more about Callum Wilson and his health. I don't think we can rely on Joe Linton to be our number 9. Miguel Almiron probably looks around as going like, I'm on the wrong Premier League team, man. But they did look, against Manchester United last week, they did look like when they have a plan and they're organized, they can still hit you on the counter. They can still punish you a little bit. And I was pleasantly surprised that they hung in that game. They scored a very good goal against United. So they can't tag you on the counterattack. Alain Saint-Maximin, of course, has got the sauce. So I just don't know. Steve Bruce is a guy that's, he only beat United once out of 27 tries as a former legend of the club. I knew that was going to be a tall order. They're just always set up to defend. There's nothing really that great or fun to do, or it's hard to sit through 90 minutes. And even when we had Rafa Benitez, I was like, God, this sucks. Even this guy's coming in saying, oh, we'll play at home against Sunderland or whoever, and we'll give them 85% possession. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, I'd rather, honestly, and maybe I'll be different when I end up coaching one day, but I would rather go for it and get our asses kicked, but at least we tried. At least we tried to go out and win the game. And yes, you can still be pragmatic in some of your tactics and making it difficult to break down in some areas. But when we go, we're going to go with numbers. We're going to try to commit and go. Yeah. And lose 3-0, then just to like lose 1-0, not even really try. I hate that shit, dude. It doesn't inspire anybody. It doesn't inspire a fan base. And so that is what I'd be looking for in a next manager, is giving that next manager some room. And obviously you got to give him some talent. But I think if you have a manager that understands team shape, you can get anybody organized to be difficult to break down. That's a little bit higher up the field. I guess I hate sitting on top of the box and trying to go from there. I'm sorry, I'm getting in the weeds. But at Newcastle it's really hard, but I don't have that false hope that a lot of other fans do, like Arsenal fans who are absolutely delusional about how good their team is. And maybe not anymore, but they were for many years. And so I try to live in reality and understand that it's possible that we could get relegated. And ultimately that could be what's best for the club, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes they come back stronger from it. And, you mentioned coaching there, and we have Miguel, who you might remember muted you once, maybe accidentally. He seems to claim that he did it accidentally, or maybe not. Sure. I don't know.
Okay, Miguel, I see you.
But you mentioned coaching, and you were involved with the San Francisco Glens. You sort of start moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
What's the status is that as far as that goes? Is there any movement, or is it just on pause because you're so busy with Twitch and CBS and everything else?
Well, it is on pause because of the pandemic. So I coach or help coach the San Francisco Glens. It is 4th division in the U.S., USL League 2. So we don't have any type of budget. We can't pay the players. You know, we're at that level where they're playing because they love to play. It's a nice stepping stone, and we try to help move them along. One of our players got drafted in the first round to MLS, Minnesota United in the B. He's back and forth now. He's been shuttling back with the Sac Republic in USL Championship. But we have some talent that comes through, and we try to help support them when we can. Now, because of the pandemic, because of our lack of budget, because we're trying to get a new facility at Treasure Island, which is just underneath one of the bridges here, the Bay Bridge here from San Francisco to Oakland. We've got that approved, but we decided to kind of take the energy and resources, the small resources that we do have, to put it into that to make sure we're ready to go for the following season. So we've been out of action for 2 seasons. It's been hard. In that time span, I've been trying to work on my A license here for U.S. soccer. I have my B, and it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and I appreciate it, but because they got to weed out the ones that suck, you know. But it's been a lot more work than I was anticipating. So I've kind of had to hit the pause on that as well, just as I try to balance all these other opportunities that I have and see where it fits in. But my goal of becoming a pro coach or a coach at a high level is definitely still somewhere out there, Adrian, as I try to think about what is phase 3. Like phase 1 was playing, phase 2 is this media rabbit hole, and phase 3 is giving back everything that I learned from those first 2 phases.
Well, I think that you certainly have the backing of the chat, just based off all the comments that I'm seeing. We have people that want to recruit you to speak to Benfica before their matches. So I think that you could at least have a future in Portugal.
Wait, doesn't George Jesus have that locked down? I mean, the guy won a Copa Libertadores with Flamengo. He knows how to win these cups. And he already had a first stint. He won everything domestically with Benfica before. Maybe you think he's past it. I don't know, but I'm a big George Jesus fan.
Yeah, I am.
Well, you're on the fence. You're living it right now.
Without getting too deep into it, I definitely was. Last season was a little bit disappointing in a sense, but this season so far so good. So far so good. We almost lost to Dinamo the other day, but we managed. Thank God for VAR. We managed to come out with a point. But all right, let's switch back to another one of the questions because we had a lot of user questions here, and let's talk about Roma. Oh, Roma. I mean,
Roma. Yes, let's talk about Roma. Let's do it. This is the first time that Jose Mourinho has won 6 consecutive games with any of his clubs to start his tenure, right? So the guy's on fire right now, pressing all the buttons. For as much as he gets, labeled as a manager that parks the bus and all that stuff, more often than not, when you look back historically at his seasons, they always start off firing. Even Tottenham last year, where they beat United at Old Trafford 6-1 or whatever it was. And then I think the big issue and the big problem that I can see for Roma is when they stop scoring and things aren't as easy, that's when I feel like he swings way hard the other direction and becomes super pragmatic and takes all the fun out of it. And then the players hate him. Maybe that's year 2 or year 3, but that's my big fear for the season is all of a sudden Tammy Abraham can't hit the back of the net. Mkhitaryan's hurt or whatever. Pellegrini and Veretout aren't bombing forward with the same type of swagger. And we're not getting those opportunities. That's what we're going to really see if this Mourinho has evolved or is more relaxed in the Italian setting as opposed to the English one. But right now, we're winning the league, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's looking incredible. And do you find that you are much more cautious with this Mourinho, or are you fully in on the hype train? Let's do this. Mourinho's back, baby.
Yeah, probably more the latter, just because I think it's fun. It's more enjoyable for me to kind of buy in and actually go in with the highs and lows, knowing that I've basically, when Mourinho is your coach, you are in on a roller coaster. And so I want to ride the roller coaster. I don't want to be like, nah, I'm just going to watch my friend ride it. I want to get on it and just take what comes with it because I just enjoy that process more as a fan. Now, Newcastle, that's different. That roller coaster just doesn't even, that roller coaster never goes up. It's either like flat or down. So I don't know about that one, but yeah. I'm in on him. I think that he looks like he's more relaxed. He looks like he's enjoying him. He's smiling more, and I think if he smiles more, then that's going to trickle down to the team, and hopefully it'll be good experience. What a signing though by Roma to get him locked in.
Oh my God,
a couple weeks after Spurs could turn out to be one of the most genius moves, especially of this past summer transfer window.
Yeah, that was one of those moves where I love a move that comes out of nowhere, because with the Twitter and the internet and everything has sort of taken the fun out of the transfer windows these days, I find, because there's these ongoing drawn out rumors where every once in a while, you know, like Liverpool, I find is kind of good at this, where every once in a while, all of a sudden it's just like, Fabinho, what? Where'd that come from?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I love that on the same day where there were so many Italian newspapers saying that Roma have signed Maurizio Sarri. No, sir. No, sir. They signed Jose Mourinho, and so far so good, man. I've been very, very happy watching Roma, and how could you not be? It's so exciting. Even in that match against Sassuolo, where in the second half they were non-existent and Scamacca was destroying them, they get that goal right at the end, and of course Mourinho does the sprint down the sidelines, and it's just good fun. And I think that a lot of us are guilty of thinking like, oh well, I got to be cautious with my heart, and I know he's going to hurt me eventually. But like you said, just ride the roller coaster without a seatbelt, man. Try it out.
I'm trying it out. What I'll say is when Young Boys scored, Jordan Pifok, the American international, scored against Manchester United, and they did the same exact thing with everybody was losing their mind on the Young Boys sideline. I thought actually Jose Mourinho was going to run out of the stands and join them, because it just seems like you have to see Mourinho kind of running into the scrum like that. But I think it's a great hire. And like I said, my one fear, and it's coming, right? Because every team goes through it. It's not isolated to Roma, but all of a sudden you just can't score. And the teams that can manage those lows the best ultimately get into Europe or win the league.
Yep. And I think that, Chelsea and what Tuchel did at Chelsea, granted, incredible squad, of course, that goes without saying, but they struggled with scoring, and yet he still managed to get them through time and time again. He managed to find results somehow. And so if Mourinho can do that at Roma, things are looking good. But let's throw this to Mark-Eric Lane, who asks you, in terms of Mou at Roma, does this team need Xhaka at this point, or put the faith in the team that he has currently?
So, Mark-Eric, great to see you, and thank you for the kind words. Good to see you. Good to see you about Kick TV. So, I'm not the biggest Granit Xhaka fan. When he plays for Switzerland, I think he's awesome. But when he plays for Arsenal, it's just different. And maybe it's just the setup, or maybe it's a different type of hunger or intensity that he has with the team. But I don't think that Roma needs him. Now, I was ready to fully support him if he joined the club, of course, and to take all the negative words I've said about him and eat it and put it on some sauce and shove it down my throat. But I think we have more than enough players that kind of fit the Mourinho system. Cristante in particular, not a like for Xhaka. I don't think anybody's like for like a walking red card on Roma like he is. But I think we have the players that are going to fit the system. I already think that's bearing fruit. You can already see that. What I think that Roma lacked last year under Fonseca was some defensive responsibility, some defensive stability, a plan of what we do when the ball's on certain parts of the field. Mourinho's got that in spades. Fonseca's like, let's just win 4-3. I don't give a shit about defending, So I think that this team really just needed what Mourinho brought. And now with that discipline, it's already bearing fruit that they can score too. So it's a nice mix right now. I will say I'm cautiously optimistic with regard to how far he can continue to push this, because at some point people are going to start to figure out their tactics. And at the same time, they're going to probably not score for a while. And that is where we're going to see the true Mourinho. And that's what worries me, because we saw it with Spurs last year. It can get real ugly if things aren't working out. And I feel like Mourinho maybe in the past wasn't as much of an asshole when things were going bad. And now I feel like when they go bad, he turns on people a little bit quicker. And I don't know. That's the sense I get. And maybe because he's back in Italy, and even though there's pressure from the media, it just feels like a different type of pressure. And I think they actually show him more respect in Italy than they do in England.
I think so too. And I think that there's something to it as far as him perhaps enjoying Italy a little bit more, because he said in that press conference, I look forward to these press conferences more so than in England. I don't know if he actually named England, but he said, because you guys actually want to talk about football and tactics, etc. So I think that he's happier there. I think that the test is going to come around the sort of December, January area. That's typically when you start to see a bit of a downturn in the sheen comes off a little bit for Mourinho at that point. But let's do a hard pivot here, because everyone wanted to hear your thoughts on PSG. Now, of course, they had one of the most insane transfer markets without even spending that much in transfer fees. But of course, there's always the fees of, the signing bonuses, agent fees, etc. They have a crazy team, obviously. And we just saw them tie 1-1 with Club Brugge, and Club Brugge looked excellent. They looked like an actual team out there. So I don't know that the attack, well, I say that the attack won't be an issue, and they definitely struggled a little bit against Club Brugge. But I think that getting the balance right is going to be one of the biggest headaches for Mauricio Pochettino at this point. You have all these players that are not going to contribute much defensively. And so how do you build your system around that? What do you think of this PSG team, Jamie? Do you think that they're a sure thing to make a deep run in the Champions League, given time to gel, etc.? Or do you think that this is going to be a little bit of a disaster in some sense?
I think everybody's kind of pulling for the disaster, because if we played with this team on career mode, they wouldn't even allow it to happen, because it's just so one-sided. You wouldn't even be able to allow those transfers, because it's just crazy that they have a team that's probably better than anything you can see on a video game.
Yeah.
That said, to your point, they might have too many luxury players. It's nice to have Messi, but as we saw in the Club Brugge game, they still need those transition players. And this has been an issue for them for a couple seasons. When Verratti plays, they're much better. And when he doesn't, they struggle. So Verratti, for me, is that link-up player that they really have. The fact that Ander Herrera is leading them in goals this season is a bit of a joke too. But he's just bombing forward and getting himself in good spots. He's still not a guy that is a great link-up player. He's going to do the work, and they need to balance the luxury players with the guys that will get in and do the work. So I think there's a place for him. But no, Idrissa Gueye wasn't involved in the game against Club Brugge, another guy that will get in the trenches. In some ways, PSG really need N'Golo Kante. I feel like his style of play that can kind of cover so much ground, doesn't need any of the credit, just wants to get the ball moving and break up plays. Not to say that Ander Herrera and Idrissa Gueye can do that, but they're not N'Golo Kante. So if they're going to spend some more, I might as well go get that guy. But Verratti for me is that one player that it just unlocks a lot of things for them as they transition from defense to attack.
Yeah.
And also, I thought they made a mistake by not bringing Marquinhos into midfield. That's where he naturally played, or that's where he grew up playing. When Sergio Ramos comes back, I get the sense that maybe Marquinhos could move in to midfield. That said, Mauricio Pochettino, is he the right guy? I mean, we can have a conversation about him. Did they fire Thomas Tuchel too early? I guess it's kind of looking like they probably did at this point. But with a team that's this talented, I think the structure of Thomas Tuchel obviously was wearing thin on some of the star players. Pochettino's got to come in, and it's a delicate balance. I don't envy that guy at all, and I don't even know a coach. I feel like Carlo Ancelotti actually might have been a good fit for this particular group, because he has a little bit of that player whisperer magic to him, and we already seen how that's playing out in a positive way for Real Madrid, with Vinicius Jr. in particular starting to play and starting to reach his potential on a consistent basis. This PSG, though, is a bit of an enigma, and I wonder, they're going to win Ligue 1. They just have too much talent not to win these things. But finding the right 11, especially with the Kylian Mbappe situation, when he's going to leave, he'll probably announce in January that he signed a pre-contract with Real Madrid. There's all these distractions, and obviously they're like the Beatles, or I don't know, whatever you want to name in terms of superstar status. Everywhere they're going to go, it's going to be an absolute circus. So that's going to be distracting as well.
The Avengers. I think that taking on the PSG job is absolutely insane, because we saw, if we just look back to when Thomas Tuchel left, he was saying how, I can't remember his exact words, but it was like, what am I? Am I a coach or a politician of sports? And just controlling that dressing room must be incredibly difficult. So that's layer one. And then there's the tactical side of things and the balance and everything that you mentioned. So Di
Maria might have been another guy. He didn't play against Club Brugge either. But if you have if Di Maria could slot inside, if you wanted Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe to all play together, if you put Di Maria a little bit more centrally and then let him roam underneath a bit, or maybe allow somebody else, maybe Messi to go central and Di Maria go wide. If you got Verratti, Marquinhos in midfield, they've got options to solve these problems, but it's just going to be finding that right 11. And then, of course, keeping that 11 motivated, keeping that 11 healthy. These are all big question marks.
Yeah, so I think we'll leave it at they've got options for sure, and good luck to
I don't think they're going to win the Champions League, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, so that was actually we're going to finish off with some rapid fire questions to address some of these donation questions here. And Vinay wanted to ask, who is your pick for winning first the Premier League and the UCL?
That might be the same team, to be honest. I have Chelsea to win the Premier League. I really feel like Romelu Lukaku is that one missing piece that could unlock a lot of things for them. He's already showing that with a couple key goals early in this season. Vinay, thank you so much for the kind words as well. I would say that Champions League, I kind of got Chelsea for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And I say it because Thomas Tuchel has already proven himself in this competition. I think that you have to be very good defensively to win the Champions League. And obviously, and usually when you win the league too, Inter Milan had the best defense in Serie A. Atletico Madrid had the best defense in La Liga last season. Man City was probably pretty close to having the best defense in the Premier League last season. You know, like that is a key component. And when you get into those one-off or two-legged affairs, the team that's kind of knows themselves defensively, especially because as you get into the quarters and semis and final, you're playing against another team that's full of world-class players. So you have to understand how you move in every moment defensively. And I think Thomas Tuchel has that team shape, and everybody's bought in. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
You can have a manager that knows what they're doing and they're saying all the right things, but if the players aren't bought in and aren't doing the work, it's never going to work. So when you add Romelu Lukaku to that and takes the pressure off of Timo Werner, the meme that is Timo Werner right now, and Kai Havertz and Mason Mount or whoever else to be the guy, and him, and bringing on a Lukaku who's so much more mature now and wants to be the guy, right? He wants that responsibility. Whereas before, when he was in his first foray with Chelsea in particular, I don't think he wanted it as much. I think he was a little bit more shy. Now he's like, I'm the guy. Give me the goddamn ball. I'm going to score. So that attitude, I think, is a nice fit for Chelsea. And I think they have a great chance. If they don't win both of those competitions, I think they're going to win one of the two for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I had them in my predictions as winning both the Premier League and the UEFA Champions League. And I think that
you're a smart bastard. Look at us.
We are smart boys here.
Smart.
But I think, people talk so much about players being in form. And I think that Thomas Tuchel is, as a manager, is in the best form of his life. I think that he's finally climbing that Mount Everest. And it's exciting because, you build the base of defense, and now he has that guy at the top of his attack. Ooh, scary stuff.
Yeah.
Now, another one here from Tactical Manager TV saying,
all right.
Agree on away games are tough in CONCACAF, but would you agree we should up our standards for the U.S. men's national team? Might not be the shortest answer, but good luck with it.
No, it's fine. Tactical Manager, what's up, man? Keep doing your thing. You've got a good channel going. I will say that our standards should be up. I think that on paper, we have more players competing at the quote-unquote highest levels than ever before. We have 12 players in the Champions League. Group stages, that is, not even in qualifying, but the group stages. We have players playing in the Europa League. So when we look at it on paper, there should be some expectations that we should be doing better. I think you're referencing probably the El Salvador game to a certain extent. The Canada one, with all due respect to Canada getting a great result there, I think the Weston McKennie situation was a distraction. I don't think we were prepared for that. And I don't think our guys were up for it in some weird way. I don't know what it was. They took it too lightly, whatever it is. But I think there was some distraction behind the scenes. That's what I'm saying to myself anyway. I don't want to take anything away from the Canadian performance. I think that John Hertzman is a fantastic manager. I think he knows what his team's about. And I think the players have bought into his system. And it's obviously bearing fruit. And I think that Canada will qualify for the World Cup. So way to go, Canada. Now with the El Salvador game, yes, we should have. I mean, we had 3 games in 8 days, and I think there was more of a hope. And this is where I get pissed off, not only at Greg Berhalter but any manager that hopes. We saw it in the Champions League final with Pep Guardiola. I'll go to the highest levels with managers. He hoped in the Champions League final that Ilkay Gundogan could play the CDM spot. Okay, he hoped that he could, but it's not his best spot. He's more of a box-to-box guy. Obviously, he scored a bunch of goals, led Man City in scoring last year, so he was getting forward. But in the Champions League final, he didn't start Rodri. He didn't start Fernandinho, who give you a little bit of that bite in midfield that I think you need when Chelsea's running around you like crazy, trying to create numerical advantages because they don't have a proper number 9. And they're very good at protecting that back 4. Now, Gundogan can do the job, but it's not his best position. And then Pep Guardiola, if you remember, in my opinion, raised the white flag and brought on Fernandinho in the 70th minute. And all of a sudden, Man City started to click. Everything was a lot more balanced and fluid. And you're like, what the hell, Pep? Why do you always overthink in big games? So when I go that and use that as context for Greg Berhalter in the U.S., when we look at the starting lineup against Panama, our last game of the 8 days, we put 4 guys in positions where we hoped they played well. Tyler Adams playing right wing back. We got James Sands, who's normally a center back, playing holding midfielder. I mean, just guys all over the place. And it was a terrible half. I mean, to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Maybe we should fire Greg Berhalter. And then all of a sudden, to his credit, he makes 3 subs at halftime, which is a very manager Eno thing to do, which I used to get shit for making 3 subs at once on my career mode. And look what happened. I was a trendsetter, Adrian, and everybody watching. Trendsetter over here.
Yeah.
And those 3 subs gave us that balance, right? It was almost like putting Fernandinho in. We started to play more fluid. We scored right after halftime, and we scored 4 goals in the second half against, I said Panama, but I meant Honduras. And we have never done that before. And well, at least in this modern game, it's been a long time since we scored 4 goals and a half away from home. And it's just because we had a manager finally get out of his own way and just put their guys in the best spots. So yes, if our guys are in our best spots, our expectations should be high for their performances. And then for our manager, we just have to make sure that he's doing the things that he should, not overthinking.
Jimmy, the batch sub manager Inyo, I very much am a part of the cult of batch subbing, you know, getting them all done at once. Forget about it. I just want to focus on the game. But would you do that as a manager? I don't know.
I think it depends on I'm not afraid of it. I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish and obviously the situation.
Yeah.
At halftime, I feel like that sub of a batch sub is easy to make because everybody's kind of starting the half clean. To do it in the middle of a game where there's a certain flow and you're trying to make 3 switches could throw your team off for a little bit. Yeah. But those are the risks you have to take depending on the situation.
Absolutely. And speaking of subs and manager Inyo, Jack Wivel here. Have you met your career mode god, Kevin Gamero? Was inspirational to see him create and cure himself of his own disease, Gamero.
Jack, thank you so much for the question. I have not met Kevin Gamero, unfortunately. Ooh. Go on, Gamero, but I think he's 5'3" or something, and he's cute as a button. And I hope that one day that I will meet him. I have an Atletico Madrid jersey with his name on the back. That's as close as I've got to him. Is I was at the stadium for a Europa League semifinal when they played Arsenal at the Wanda, and yeah, that was it. I was what, maybe 200 yards away from Kevin Gamero. I'll take it. Okay, yeah. Jack, that's enough. But there is potential talk of bringing back career mode for FIFA 22. I'm just throwing it out there. It might be heading back on the YouTubes to give the people what they want, and that's more manager Inyo. Inyo in, suckers. I don't take any slander. No slander on manager Inyo.
There has been a lot of slander surrounding this next man, who is our final question of this stream, and that is, hey, Jimmy, thoughts on Ollie? Is he the man?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if he's the man. Ole Gunnar seems like a really, really good top assistant. You know, he has good relationships with the players, but then when it's time to pick a team, and actually, we have to put some respect on his name because he has set a record for an unbeaten streak away from home in the Premier League. There is something that he does really well, and he's so close, but I don't know if he's ticking all the boxes. This past transfer window was fantastic. We'll see if that Paul Pogba ends up deciding to re-sign. That will be obviously pretty influential to how the team kind of shapes their path moving forward. My only fear with Ole Gunnar is his in-game tactics. Some of his subs or lack thereof are frightening. And the fact that he can't read that. And my thought is, dude, Sir Alex Ferguson's in the stands. Just call the guy, dude. He knows exactly what to do. Just get him on the mobile, you know, and just I don't even know if Sir Alex texts, but have somebody like that guy should be in your ear telling you what to do. Or like, hey, it's the bat phone. Holy shit, we're tied with Villarreal. Maybe we should make a sub. They made no subs in the first 90 minutes of the Europa League final. Still unacceptable to me.
Yeah.
And then they brought on Fred. Of all players, in the 99th minute, they brought on Fred. Unexcusable. Okay? Unacceptable. Inexcusable. Excuse me. I'm speaking my own languages over here. And I still don't forgive him for that. And I'm not even a United fan. So is Ole Gunnar the guy? If he can't get something done, if he can't win a trophy in any competition with this team, then yeah, I think they might have to look towards somebody else. I don't know if Antonio Conte is the guy. You know who I do like, though, is Erik ten Hag from Ajax. Yes. So that's who Arsenal should be going after, in my humble opinion. But that's that type of manager who's out there, who's proven his worth. Another manager I really like is Jose Bordalas. He was at Getafe, kind of getting them to overachieve. Now he's at Valencia. Valencia are playing Real Madrid this weekend, and they've yet to lose Valencia. What? Valencia won back-to-back games for the first time in like 2 years, you know, something crazy. So there's something about Jose Bordalas, but will Man United take a flyer on that? Will they take that type of risk? I just don't know if they will anymore, because the last time they did that with a young manager with something to prove was Sir Alex. And since then, it's almost like you have to be somebody of incredible pedigree to even get a sniff. So I hope that one day United go back to kind of going with an unproven manager. I know Ole Gunnar is considered that, but he's a club legend, so it's a little bit different.
He is. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people out there that it sort of mystifies as to how Erik ten Hag is still at Ajax, and there's a lot of people out there that want to bring Marcelo Gallardo over to Europe as well. So there are options, but Jimmy, man,
we can talk all day, dude. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Continued success. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for all the love and support. I might be poking my head back on my channel every once in a while, but you can come follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jimmy Conrad. I'm on CBS Sports as well, and I'm doing a lot of the Serie A coverage on Paramount Plus. And yeah, you can find me in other places, maybe dressed up a little bit nicer than this, but everything else looks the same for the most part.
It's looking sharp. It's looking sharp. But again, guys, I think I speak for the chat in saying thank you so much. This was extremely, extremely enjoyable. What's going on here? What do we got? Hey, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Like and subscribe and turn on your notifications, you bastards. Don't be lazy, okay? Watch every video. And I'm going to have, man, our mothers are getting paid today. I know that my mom paid you to do that, so I'm going to have to pay her as well. So shout out to our moms for bringing in the dough. But again, Jimmy, my mom likes foot massages. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I could maybe hire someone to do that. Thank you so much, man. Very much appreciated. This was a ton of fun. And someone says, hopefully this isn't the last time we do it. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
All right. Let's do it. Let's make it a regular occurrence. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Adrian.
Bye, guys. Cheers.